At the beginning of World War II, German U-boats were a formidable force. Attacks on convoys and individual vessels were commonplace, often resulting in the loss of Allied ships. German submariners called this phase of the war the happy time. The U-boat's success was due to the Allies' lack of effective target detection, allowing them to surface safely to recharge their batteries and conduct nighttime attacks from the surface with impunity. As the Allies began searching for a solution to this problem, they came up with numerous innovations, including new types of anti-submarine weapons such as the Hedgehog and Squid, active acoustic devices such as the SDIC, and of course radar. Radar presented a unique situation, as it could also be used on anti-submarine aircraft, which was quite dangerous as aircraft traveled much faster than ships. In response, the Germans introduced a special device called Metox into their submarine fleet in 1941. This device could detect radar activity and warn submariners of danger. The device was primitive, it was installed inside the submarine and its antenna had to be manually raised. The operator, wearing headphones, rotated the wooden antenna manually, and when he heard a beep, he raised the alarm, causing the submarine to immediately submerge. The wooden Metox antenna was nicknamed the Biscay Cross for its appearance and the location where it was first used. However, the device's effectiveness was short-lived, as Metox only detected radar operating in the meter range, and the Allies soon developed centimeter radar, rendering Metox useless. The entire situation was also affected by the interrogation of a captured British bomber pilot, who claimed that the Allies were capable of detecting Metox. The Germans almost immediately began to address this problem, naturally building on the experience gained from the development and use of the previous Metox device. In March 1941, the Allies developed a new H-2S radar, a device operating in the 10 cm wavelength range. This radar was more accurate and could scan ground targets, enabling night bombing of important targets. This was achieved through the use of a cavity magnetron operating in the 9.1 cm 3 GHz wavelength range. Research on this device revealed that radar radiation could reflect off different objects differently, meaning the radar could not detect a target and even determine whether it was a building, a ship or an aircraft. The Allies began using these radars, and the results were immediate. German U-boat crews began reporting nighttime attacks by anti-submarine aircraft, with the aircraft easily finding the submarine, clearly indicating the use of radar. However, the Metox device on the submarines was not transmitting any signals at that time. Because radar could also detect targets on land, the Allies began using it on aircraft during bombing raids over German-occupied territories. During one of these raids in early February 1943, a British bomber was shot down. The Germans inspected the downed aircraft and discovered a similar radar on board. Naturally, the Germans' laboratory studies of this device led to urgent work on a new radar detection device, not only for night fighters but also for submarines for early warning. On February 22, 1943, the German company Telefunken was commissioned to develop a new device. Initially, work was delayed, but a solution was later found. The new device was capable of operating in the new centimeter radar range, achieved through the use of a crystal detector. Components from the IFF FUG-25 Zwilling system, a German friend of foe identification system and navigation aid for Luftwaffe aircraft, were also used in the detector's development. The new detector had the ability to determine the distance to an active radar, meaning the detector operator could determine whether a target was approaching or moving away. The device was adopted in September 1943 and was named Naxos. The Germans installed this device on their light bomber-based night fighters, as well as on submarines, with the submarines being much more interesting. The new Naxos detector featured several antenna designs, which sometimes leads to confusion when studying their history. These antennas typically featured a large reflector, shaped like a curved plate or grating, and a central butterfly-shaped receiver. The first versions of the Naxos detector, like the Metox, required manual rotation, or if the antenna was large, it was simply rigidly mounted. To solve this problem, a grating-cylinder antenna was developed. This antenna didn't require rotation to scan the horizon. its receiver operated 360 degrees, and the device could automatically transmit heading data to an active radar. Most interestingly, the cylindrical antenna could be simply mounted on the top of the submarine's conning tower without retracting, simplifying operation and reducing dive time. After the Naxos detector was tested by submariners, the initial feedback was somewhat disappointing. Naxos wasn't as effective as Metox because it was designed to operate with vertically polarized antennas, while the new Allied radars operated with horizontal polarization. The solution was simple. Submarines began installing and simultaneously using several different types of antennas, positioned at different angles to the horizon, and this was already effective. Crews of British anti-submarine aircraft began reporting that submarines hit underwater after being detected by radar, indicating that the Germans had once again found a solution to the radar problem. Also, in early 1944, German submariners acquired a new trump card, the snorkel, a vertical tube-shaped device with a float on top that allowed the submarine's diesel engines to operate at periscope depth. With the snorkel, the submarine could travel considerable distances underwater and dive more quickly to greater depths in the event of an enemy appearance. The Germans installed a Naxos antenna on top of the snorkel, allowing them to detect Allied radars while effectively submerged. However, the Allies didn't stop there. After the first centimeter-wave radar was tested by the Allies, development of a modification began, resulting in the new Mark III radar, operating in the 3 cm wavelength range. This device had a significant target detection range of up to 100 miles. For example, the previous meter-wave radar could detect targets at a distance of up to 40 miles. The Mark III radar also had the ability to scan land targets. The German Naxos radar detector could detect the Mark III radar's emissions, but the signal was less clear due to the significantly different wavelengths. Furthermore, the Mark III radar produced a high-quality, fine-tuned signal, allowing an anti-submarine aircraft crew to engage in a game of a cat and mouse with a submarine. For example, as an aircraft approached a submarine, a radar operator could artificially reduce the radar power, giving submariners the impression that the aircraft was not approaching. German engineers were able to develop a version of the Naxos radar detector operating in the required range only towards the end of World War II. Only a small number of these were manufactured and installed on submarines, so these devices had no impact on the overall situation during the war. Considering the above, the development of the first German radar detector, the Metox, is also significant. It was essentially the first submarine early warning device to be used, and it essentially started it all. Its history is no less interesting. There is a separate video about this device. The link is on the screen or below this video. See you soon!